Bachelor number 1. Einstein said that sitting on a hot stove for a minute feels like an hour, but sitting next to a nice girl for an hour feels like a minute. That was his theory of special relativity. What's yours?
What?
Welcome to Vacation Lander. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Brian.
And this is
The Pine Tree Picture Show,
where we look at movies in Maine and by Mainers. Today we're looking at the directorial debut of Portland, Maine native Anna Kendrick,
Oh, yeah, we love that.
who also stars in the film Woman of the Hour. It was written by Ian McDonald, who is actually also from Portland, and apparently they grew up at they're both around the same age, so when they were kids, apparently they were in a Christmas pageant together. They didn't even know each other, but found that out later when they were filming. During pre-production, they were going over changes that they wanted to make to the script, and he was mid-conversation, he's like, oh, by the way, I should probably mention this now before it comes up later and it's weird. I'm also from Portland, and I lived like 10 minutes from you growing up. Small world, so it's kind of funny.
Very small world, even in Hollywood. The movie's based on the true story of Rodney Alcala, who is also known as the dating game killer.
Yeah, and as a serial killer film, I was kind of surprised at the lack of gore or the bloodiness of it. It's still pretty brutal. Some scenes definitely stick with you, but not a lot of blood.
It's blood. Blood's supposed to stay inside the body. That's where it's meant to be.
I'm not sure what the rating was, if it had a rating. It's on Netflix, so I'm not sure if those apply, but not that bloody for a killer film.
But still intense. The film depicts several of Alcala's murders, and it also features Cheryl Bradshaw and her experience on the TV show. The timeline jumps around a lot, and it doesn't always work the best.
Yeah, it was a very non-linear story structure, and I couldn't always really keep track of like when we were. Like, it'll pop up and actually tell you, yeah, we're in like 1975 or whatever, and I'm just like, cool, that's 70s, good enough. And then pops up again 1978, and I'm like, oh shoot, where was that last one again? So I don't know, it would have been nice to say like 3 years before, 5 months afterwards.
5 months later.
Comparing it to the dating game, because that's what it all ties into.
Yeah, using that as the anchor point timeline-wise would have made it a little more clear, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a solid directorial debut by Anna Kendrick, and both she and Daniel Zavato, who star in it, are great with their performances.
Yeah, absolutely. And Daniel Zavato plays that really eerie, creepy role really, really well.
Yeah, but he's also got the charm that he turns up during the game show.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Also, the cinematography is absolutely incredible. There's a lot of really good long dynamic one-er shots where it has a bunch of different compositions all in one shot. And, well, by the way, spoiler alert, we're going to get into the ending of the film. If you haven't seen it, you should do that. It's available on Netflix. Go check it out and then come back and give us a watch. But yeah, that one-er shot at the end where the girl gets away, I think her name is Amy, it starts out with the car on the highway or on the road, and then it pulls into the gas station. He gets out, goes around the car, talks to her, then goes into the bathroom, and then it follows the guy out, and it pans around and shows that she's gone from the car, and then keeps following him around, gets out into the road, and you see her running down the road. And it's like, that's such a powerful shot, such a great moment in the film, and the movie was filled with moments like that, I think.
Yeah, there's another great shot right before it where the killer gets in the driver's side, and when he closes the door, you can see the passenger side, her reflection in the mirror.
Yeah, that was a really good shot where it ended with that. I really like that.
Yeah, the whole through line with that character, kind of weaving through the plot, actually works pretty well and gives it a sense of continuation.
Yeah, almost better than the dating game aspect of it to some degree.
Yeah. Most of the film is dedicated to that dating game, which in some ways feels a little inconsequential to the story, just because if this were a normal movie, like, nothing really happens from it.
Her testimony is irrelevant, irrational, and inconsequential.
Well, yeah, but it's not really... It's inconsequential to his murders. If it were like just a true crime biopic about Rodney Alcala. But the film really isn't about Rodney Alcala. It's really about the societal structures that allowed him to continue and allowed him to get onto the dating game show. And also, he was referred to as the dating game killer for years because he was on the show. So you kind of have to include that as a major part of the story to kind of sell the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really does jump around a lot, and I don't know if it really, really worked quite like it did for films like Pulp Fiction or even something like Boondock Saints, where you show before, or you show after, and then before, and then you show the fight. Where this one is just kind of all around. I don't know if it really works 100%, because it starts out in Wyoming in 1977. That scene does make a lot of sense because, because she's pregnant too, and she mentions that. So like knowing that, and then he kills her and then revives her and then attacks her again, and oh man, that was just absolutely brutal. But it really sets the tone for the film and sets him up as like the clear villain. And Anna Kendrick really fought to keep that in, to actually shoot it, because the studio wanted to cut that from the script, and she compared it to the opening scene from No Country for Old Men, where he kills the cop with, I think, just his handcuffs. I think that it was really important to keep that in the movie. It really sets the tone, just like that did for that film. And also something that was kind of interesting, the 2020 did a dating game killer piece that I just happened to watch because doing research for this, just watching all of the Anna Kendrick and Woman of the Hour dating game killer content I can find. It's a bit much. I thought that was really interesting because that also starts in Wyoming, 1977, which is not his first murder or even the first thing he got caught for. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, then it jumps into Hollywood in 1978, and that introduces Cheryl and the dating game, which is obviously crucial to the film. You gotta have that. And then it jumps over to San Gabriel in 1979, and that's where it introduces, I believe her name is Amy, the girl that gets away. And that storyline keeps coming back. And we go back to Hollywood in 78. And then we jump into 1971 in New York, and it shows another one of his murders. But I really don't know why this scene is here, other than to set up the fact that he's a serial killer, that he's killed multiple people. But I feel like there are other ways to do that. And yeah, I just feel like this whole scene, speaking of scenes that are inconsequential, this, in terms of the story of moving along the story of the film, this one just, I don't know why it's here.
The scene at the LA Times also kind of doesn't serve its purpose very well.
Yeah, I mean, that scene almost gets to what the movie's about, because it shows the detectives just kind of laughing it off with Rodney Alcala at the end of it. But I really think that this film was missing one crucial scene, and that is where the dating game producers interview Alcala to be on the show, and like show that negligence of, they either did a background check, because I mean he served time for murdering or trying to murder like an 8-year-old girl, and served I think 3 years, and then the dating game let him on the show. So either they did the background check and didn't care, which is incredibly horrible, or they're just not doing any background checks at all.
Yeah, it does really kind of highlight those institutional problems. If it had that kind of scene, it would have,
I think it would have driven it home. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They kind of allude to it in a conversation in the car between another character and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I think it could have been stronger with that, what you described.
Yeah, I mean, it almost gets to what the movie's about. It's still just kind of, I mean, you don't want to beat people over the head with it, because there's really only like one redeeming character that's male in this movie, and that's in that scene, the boyfriend.
Yeah. But he's still kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just apologizes at the end.
Yeah. So that's his arc.
Yeah.
But all that's kind of a fictionalized part of the film anyway. So.
Yeah, and a lot of the conversation around this film is about accuracy. And Ian McDonald did change a good amount about the story. Most of it having to do with the dating game. Most of everything that happened in the murder scenes was accurate, but they changed a whole slew of the stuff about the dating game. For example, like Cheryl, she never actually hijacked the show. She played along. She was an actress, so she was really playing the part and hamming it up for the camera, but never took control of the show and asked her own questions and made fun of the other contestants.
Oh, I think we're all having fun.
Of course we are.
Aren't we having fun? See? We're having so much fun.
Bachelor 1 and 2, they weren't stupid or rude or anything like that. They're just totally normal guys. Alcala just happened to win over them. And actually, he ended up making a bunch of sexual innuendos in the show more than they did.
Should I be taking notes, teacher?
Oh, it will be on the final exam, Ed.
Yeah, also the host, I think the character's name is Ed Birch. I think Jim Lang, I think, is the real host of the dating game. I guess he was a perfectly fine guy for the most part.
Besides coming on this show, of course.
The character that they made for the film is, wow, what a shitbag.
Yeah. Just like every other male character except for the one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that whole aspect of the girl seeing Alcala at the dating game and going to report it to security, apparently that was never recorded.
But that is the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole point of the story.
If things had actually happened the way they did in the film, then there would be no documentation of that ever happening. So
Yeah.
I kind of like that aspect of it, where you can change that part of history, and who knows if you did. Maybe that was actually something that happened.
Yeah. Feedback around these kind of movies is all like any kind of true crime is always about accuracy. So these things are always lit up.
Yeah, and well, maybe that kind of explains the discrepancy in the Rotten Tomatoes score, because a 91% from critics is a pretty great directorial debut for Anna Kendrick,
You did it! Congratulations!
but only 68% for audience.
That's much worse.
And I think a lot of that is those true crime fans
Yeah.
who show up for accuracy, and they want to see the Alcala story. They don't really want to see what was wrong with everything in the 70s.
Yeah.
And still wrong today. But it was, it did well enough on Netflix. It was #1 on all streaming platforms, not just Netflix, for 2 weeks in a row when it came out. That was October 18th of 2024, just last year.
Wow.
It was purchased by Netflix for $11 million, or around $11 million, after it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival.
That's not really a lot of money.
No.
11 million is not a lot of money.
Not for a film like this. Like for you and I, yeah, $11 million.
Great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and Anna Kendrick actually donated all the money that she made from this, from her fees from directing and acting, to 2 different nonprofits that support survivors of violent crimes. And I guess she said she felt gross profiting off of this, and something she didn't even consider when she was making it. It was always a passion project for her. It was never a money-making venture. And apparently, so this was difficult to find. I did some searching for the budget, and productions like this, it's nearly impossible. So the estimated budget for this is $15 million. And
pretty low.
Yeah, and that's pretty inexpensive, and they were able to do that because, well, first of all, they had a first-time director with Anna Kendrick. I'm assuming she didn't take a huge fee for directing. And they shot it in only 24 days, so they kept that budget very low. But they still had that huge set, like with moving parts in the set.
Yeah.
So they had to rebuild all of that just for the film. So, that had to eat up a good chunk of the budget. Typically, the cast takes up 10% of the budget. So if they spent $10 million on it, only $1 million went to the cast, and we know it was definitely more than $1 million, because Anna Kendrick would have gotten that at least just for her. Yeah, so it did not make a lot of money for them. It apparently did well for Netflix, though. The makeup artist, I love this character, she was based on Ruth Romaine, who was a character that Tracy Ullman created. I thought she seemed like a Mickey Goldwell type, the guy from Rocky.
Yeah.
How she was like, she's in her corner. And I just loved her personality. She was just fantastic. What a great character. Also, something that was really interesting, Bachelors number 1 and 2, the actors who played them, they're roommates.
So crazy.
And no one knew that when they auditioned. It's not like they auditioned together.
Actually, we'll be interviewing as a team. We're here to fuck shit up.
Also, Anna Kendrick only signed on as the lead actor originally. She was not set to direct this, but then they found funding and they had a window to shoot it. So Anna Kendrick was like, well, we don't have a director. Let's see if I can do this. So she put a pitch together and like auditioned for a director essentially. And she actually had to do this twice because the first time, the whole time she was like second guessing herself. It's like, or if you guys don't like that, we can do something different. And so she talked to one of the producers and they said, we liked your pitch. We'd love to have you come back and do it again. But this time, just with a little bit more confidence and be sure of yourself because we did like your ideas. And she's like, okay, well, now I'll just treat this like an audition for the role of a competent director. So that's how she landed that role.
That's how you get her.
Yeah. So before we get to our rating, please give us a like if you like our content. If you want to see more from us, go ahead and subscribe. We'll have more stuff like this coming out regularly.
Also, get in the comments.
Yeah. What did you think of this film? Have you seen it yet? I hope so, if you made it this far. Otherwise, we spoiled everything for you.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't ruin it for you.
So yeah, what would you rate it?
I feel like I'm supposed to give it 4 stars because the movie structure, the nonlinear story is like a big trope for...
Yeah, but it doesn't quite work. I don't think it doesn't get to that 4-star level for me. I think, and it's because of that structure. If it were a linear structure, it may have worked a little bit better. Or if it had that one crucial scene that I mentioned that could tie all of those murders together, that could have saved it, brought it up to 4 stars. But I think it was a solid directorial debut, but I think we got to give it 3.5 stars, a good watch.
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right, and since this is the Pine Tree Picture Show, where we look at movies in Maine and by Mainers, we're going to ask, how Maine is it?
Well, it's not set in Maine at all.
No, and it's not shot here either, obviously.
There's no Maine theme even, or not even a character from Maine.
No, but it does have 2 main filmmakers, the director, the writer, and the star. So we'll give it, we would normally give it 1 pine tree for having a Mainer in it, but we'll give it 1.5.
Yeah.
Can't give it 2 pine trees for that, but it's a little bit Maine. It's getting there.
Yeah, just a little bit Maine.
And that's our show, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. Brian, thanks for coming over. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a blast. Come back next time. We will get into Stephen King's The Mist. Yeah, so we will be getting into Stephen King finally on the Pine Tree Picture Show. I'm very excited about it. So come on back, and thanks for coming by this time. Adios, amigos. Muchachos.